Kara. All right, there we go. Okay, you're free to do this during tonight's session as long as it's appropriate to whatever is being discussed at the time. You'll also have the opportunity to have the mic again tonight, like we did in the last session. So please raise your hand at that time to participate, and then you'll be called upon, and then you can go ahead and unmute yourself. And the final, I see, there we go. Thank you, Kara. Put your hand up. The final way you'll be able to participate tonight is through the chat feature. So let's locate the chat feature and test it out by answering a question for me. So tonight, just like last session, what are you hoping to learn about tonight? And you can answer in the chat. And remember, tonight's presentation is about state government. And we'll be meeting two very exciting people. So go ahead and put in the chat what you're interested in learning potentially. So find your chat. Type away. Okay, more about state government, the different jobs that they have. Oh, yeah, what they do for our community. And I'm sure they're going to answer many of these questions, their involvement in government. Great. Okay, let me see one moment. It looks like we might, give me one moment, guys. I want to make sure that we have our guests in the chat, or we have our guests logged on. One moment. Okay, my apologies. Okay, I'm back. So awesome. Okay, if you have any technical issues or have a personal question, please direct message Kelly in the chat. And all right, Kara, did you have a question? I know your hand was up.
Will we be doing like more of these like quizzes and like things like what we did in the last one, like where we had to find stuff or something like that?
You know what? That's coming right on up. We do have another icebreaker for tonight, and we will have another critical thinking activity. So
Okay,
to answer your question, yes.
thank you. Thank you.
Okay, great. So it is, oh, guys, one second. Let me make sure. Kelly, I have the right screen up, correct?
Yes, you do.
Okay. That's showing for me right now. That is... Okay. So now it's time for our icebreaker. So if you could please find a sheet of paper, grab a piece of paper and a writing utensil. So if you don't have that available, I will give you a moment to find that. All right, so with your sheet of paper, you're going to divide it into 4 quadrants, and you can just draw a line vertical and draw a horizontal line across. I'll give you all a moment to get that. All right, so for our next step, I'm going to read a question or prompt for each quadrant one at a time, and you'll draw or write what comes to your mind when you hear this question or prompt in one of the boxes. So you can choose which box you wish to draw it in. You'll have a chance to share your responses at the end if you would like. So let's go with the first one. Is there anyone that needs a moment, or does everyone have paper and something to write with? All right, it looks like we're ready. So in your first box, write what makes a great leader to you. For example, for me, I might write in one of my boxes, having the desire to serve others. So I'll give you a few moments to write what makes a great leader to you in your first box. Okay, I am going to move on to box number 2. So in box number 2, write, who is a woman leader or role model that has influenced you? And this could be someone you know personally or someone you've read or learned about. Give you a few seconds to write that out. All right, I am going to move on to box number 3. So for box number 3, I want you to write, what is an accomplishment you are proud of? So go ahead and write in your box what is an accomplishment you're personally proud of. And it could be anything. It could be one that's related to school. It could be one that's related to if you're involved in any sports or any after school activities. If you've set a goal for yourself to read so many books, just any accomplishment that you're proud of. And for our last box, box number 4, if you could travel anywhere, where would you go and why? Okay, so this is our opportunity to share out. So raise your hand if you would like to share what you wrote in your 4 boxes. Anna from Troop 77915. You can go ahead, unmute yourself and share what you have in your 4 boxes.
For number 1, I put a kind, caring, thoughtful leader. For number 2, who changed my life was Miss LaFair, aka my teacher. 3, I'm proud of being really good at reading. And 4, I would want to go to Disney World because it's very fun.
Yeah, oh, I love it. I love all your answers, and I agree with the Disney World. It is pretty fun.
Thank
And
you.
and also what you said about a leader, those are some awesome characteristics for a leader to have. I
Thank
love it.
you.
Thank you for sharing. Anyone else? Do we have anyone else that wants to share what they have? All right, Sonia, go ahead and unmute yourself.
So for a leader, I put qualities include initiative, collaboration abilities, intelligence, and then also fairness. In terms of women who've inspired me, I put RBG, or Ruth Bader Ginsburg. For an accomplishment I'm proud of my volunteer work. And somewhere I want to travel is Indonesia because I want to see Bali and I want to see a shadow puppet dance.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. I love it. Thank you for sharing. And I think all those characteristics are definitely needed to be a leader, especially like you mentioned initiative and collaboration, because a leader has to be open to others' ideas and being kind of part of a team. So thank you. We're going to take, I think we're going to take these 3 more and then we're going to move on. So let's go with Kara.
Hold on, give me one moment. All right. For box number 1, they are passionate and care for other people, not just themselves. Number 2, my mom, because all the things she does for my family and others. Box number 3, when I won the kaleidoscope for our school, and I also set a goal for writing. And 4, I would travel to the White House or the government because I want to learn more about government.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. And my mom too is probably was the first leader and role model that inspired me as well. So I can definitely identify with that. Thank you for sharing. Let's go with Reagan and then we'll have Athena right after that. So Reagan, go ahead and unmute yourself.
For box number 4, I did inspires people and talks to people and listens to their suggestions. For the second one, I said for Rosa Parks, Harriet Tubman, and Michelle Obama. For the third one, I said doing my research for school and activities, getting good grades. And for the fourth, I would want to go to Paris, France, and because of the Eiffel Tower and how pretty it is.
Oh, lovely, lovely. I love all these locations that you all want to go to. You're adding to my bucket list. And I like the leaders that you picked, the great leaders. Those represented definitely different times in history. So I love it. Thank you. Athena.
Okay. So number 1, being a role model is someone who helps someone with something and helps lead something. My role models are the same thing as the last person who spoke. Rosa Parks, Harriet Tubman, and Michelle Obama. I thought it was really funny. And then number 3 is one of my greatest accomplishments is completing my silver award. The silver award. Sorry. Number 4, I would travel to London with my 3 best friends and my mom, dad, and my brother.
Okay, nice. Thank you. Thank you for sharing, Athena. Y'all did a great job with that. So now we're going to talk about tonight's topic, which we know is state government. So let's review. Last time we learned that there were 3 branches of government. So share in the chat if you can remember one of the branches of government and its responsibilities. So go ahead and type in the chat if you can remember some of them. And if you weren't here last month, just put down what you think an idea of what the 3 branches of government are and some of their responsibilities. Anybody recall any of them from last time? Well, that's okay. That's the whole point. Oh, okay, I see. We're remembering some of them. That is the point of review, you know? So we can get it all to stick. Well, we will go back over it. So there's the legislative, which is a part of creating laws, executive that implements the laws, and judicial, which checks over the laws. And so I'm sure now you guys are like, oh yeah, that was what we went over last month. So let's explore who's a part of each branch of state government, because just like local government, state government has the same 3 branches of government. However, the members of each branch differ. So let's, now it's time for us to explore who's a part of each branch of government. So for state government, the legislative branch has the House of Representatives and senators. For the executive branch, Governor Gretchen Whitmer represents the executive branch, and she is a lawyer, educator, former prosecutor, state representative, and senator, formerly. For the judicial branch of state government, the Michigan State Supreme Court has part of the are part of the judicial branch. Justice Kyra Harris Bolden joined the Michigan Supreme Court on January 1st, 2023. And she was appointed by Governor Whitmer, making her the first Black woman to serve as a justice. Now, our goal for tonight, we're going to look more closely at the legislative branch of state government. Okay. As we begin learning about the legislative branch of government, we're going to get started with our first guest speaker. Tonight, we want to introduce you to Jayshona Hicks. Ms. Hicks is the Director of Legislative Affairs for the Department of Labor Economic Opportunity. She has a decade of experience in public policy, community advocacy, legislative services, and constituent relations, which has positively impacted Michigan's people and communities. She previously worked with Governor Whitmer's executive office in Michigan Senate. She's received many distinguished awards, including Senate District Leadership Award in 2017, the Legislative Staffer of the Year nomination in 2018, and she was featured in the Michigan Chamber of Commerce Lead Like a Woman series in 2019. So you all, let's give a warm Girl Scout welcome to Miss Jayshona Hicks.
Thank you.
Welcome, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. Good evening. How's everyone doing? Good, good. You guys can hear me okay, right? Okay, great. Sometimes my computer is a little weird, so I'm glad that you guys can hear me okay. But just, I'm just curious, the age range. So here today, so if you can put in the chat your name and age, that would be great. I did join a little bit late, so I would love to just get to know you all a little bit better. So while you add your name and age in the chat, should I just kind of just share a little bit about myself?
Sure.
Would that be helpful?
Yes.
Okay, great. So again, I am Jayshona Hicks. I am the Director of Legislative Affairs for the Department of Labor and Economic Opportunity. We call the Department of Labor and Economic Opportunity LEO for short, so you'll hear me say LEO. What that includes, LEO is a state agency. It is housed in the executive branch. And we pretty much, our mission is to make sure Michigan residents have good education, childcare and housing, and just all the resources to live a good quality of life so they could live a good life with their family and make sure they can afford their bills. So like mentioned in your PowerPoint, Governor Gretchen Whitmer, she has different public policy initiatives that she wants the state to have to ensure we have a good quality of life. And some of those policies are housed in the LEO department. And as the legislative director, my role is to talk with the legislature to get their input and approval on some of our legislative policies and public policy priorities. So for example, we have this program called Going Pro, and it pretty much provides education for adults who may have not gone to college, but they are working, and so they kind of want to get a skill credential so they can get a better paying job. Our department provides education assistance for them to do that. And it's one of the governor's initiatives. However, in order for us to do that, because there are checks and balances, we have to get input from the legislature to get funding for that. So it's my role to go to the different legislative members in the Senate and the House of Representatives to advocate for things like that. So people like you or people in your family could get access to those services. A little bit of how I got my start. Well, I am born, raised, and educated in Michigan. So I've been in Michigan all my life. I currently live in Southfield, Michigan, and I've always lived in the Southeast Michigan region. I went to school in South Redford Public Schools, and I graduated from Michigan State University in political science. The major political science includes things about government and politics. I began to have an interest in that. During my senior year, I took a few advanced placement classes. It's pretty much classes that you can take to get college credit while you're in high school. And I took history, government, and economics, and quickly learned that I had a really good interest in history and government. I love helping people. And so I figured, I learned quickly like that was the best way to help people. In government, it's all about creating laws and policies that help improve our lives and sometimes control things that we do, but for the better good of society. And so for me, being someone that was very caring and compassionate and coming from a single family home, I just wanted to do things to make people happy, to improve my life and those around me. And so that's why I decided to go to school for political science. And during my time at Michigan State, my last year, I did an internship. And an internship is where you can gain some work experience and also gain college credit. And so I was accepted into the Michigan State University government semester program. And it's where we were able to take 2 classes about government and state politics, and also meet a bunch of legislators and lobbyists in Lansing, and they would come to speak like every other day in our class. And in addition to that class, we were assigned to work for an elected official. And so I had the opportunity to intern for a state senator. His name was Senator Tupac Hunter, and he represented the residents of Detroit, Dearborn, and Inkster. So during that time in college, while I did that internship, I was offered a job. So it was my first job in state government. And during that time, I was able to do constituent work, and constituents are basically people like you that call their government if they need help with housing, childcare, or electricity. I would take those phone calls and help them. So I was finally doing something that I wanted to do when I was younger, seeing, my mom or other people in need. In that role, I was able to find the resources that our state government offer and provide them with those opportunities. And after that, I worked for another state senator, Morris Hood III, who also represented Detroit, because elected officials, they are term limited. So after so many years, they have to either go on if they don't win the election, or they may be termed out. And so I had an opportunity to work for another state senator and kind of do the same work. And then later after that, I was offered a job with Governor Gretchen Whitmer, who's our current governor now, and was her policy advisor. And as a policy advisor, I help create different laws or policies that help people in terms of like criminal justice matters or housing support, education opportunities. I did that for about a couple years. And then lastly ended at the Department of Labor and Economic Opportunity. So for the most part, I've worked in both the legislative and the executive branch, have not worked in the judicial branch, but I'll say overall, with all those roles, it's been very rewarding to just help people and ensure that they have a good quality of life. And also being a woman, myself being able to have a voice in what's being controlled with my body and voice has been very important work to me. I'll stop there for
Awesome.
questions or comments.
Thank you so much for sharing. Questions. Now it's time for Q&A. So if you all could put in the chat what questions you might have. I know I've had a lot of questions going on that I want to ask. So while they're putting the questions in the
Oh,
chat,
thank you, Kara.
let's see. Do you see the questions in the chat? Why did you decide to get into the job, into the position that you are in now?
So that's a great question. I didn't initially decide. I'll tell you, when back in 2001, when I was a kid, I'm telling my age, I watched this movie called Legally Blonde. I don't know if you guys heard of the movie Legally Blonde, but it's with Reese Witherspoon, and she was basically going to law school. Originally, it was because she had a boyfriend that she really liked, but she found out that she was actually really into it herself and super smart and was really about helping and caring for people. One, I love dressing up and looking fabulous, and I was just very inspired that this beautiful woman was like beautiful and smart at the same time and just helping people. So it kind of inspired me to want to maybe get into law. But then later on, when I was in high school taking government classes, the idea of just creating a policy or a law that would help change someone's life or improve their quality of life very much interests me. And so once I, went to college, I kind of the path just unfolded for me to get into politics and state government. So I'd say I didn't necessarily choose it in a sense, it chose me based on different experiences in my life.
Awesome. Thank you. Kate and Jess from Troop 90441 would like to know if you were a Girl Scout.
I was not a Girl Scout, unfortunately. I wish I was. When I was younger, I was painfully shy. Also, my mom was a single mother and worked a lot. And so I kind of stayed to myself and read a lot and stayed in school, but didn't get the opportunity to join a lot of extracurricular activities, which is very helpful. So unfortunately, I did not, but I've heard great things about Girl Scouts. So I'm happy to be here today.
Yes, and we're very happy to have you.
Thank you.
Sonia wants to know, do you have to stay or be affiliated with one party? For example, if Republicans are elected, would your job be jeopardized?
That's a great question. If Republicans were in office, my job would sort of be jeopardized. One, I'll say with the state agencies, we are non-party, like affiliated in a sense. So I'm a neutral person. I stand for both Republicans and Democrats. However, as of now, the governor is a Democratic governor. And so when you are a legislative liaison for the executive branch, you are advocating for democratic policies that this particular government wants to pursue, with people knowing that if there was a Republican governor, they would more than likely want to put someone in this position that aligns more with their views. But my goal is to do a good job and to kind of assess policies and stuff objectively, where no matter what the administration will be, whether it's a Democratic administration or a Republican administration, they will want to keep me in my position.
Anna from Troop 77915 wants to know, what could a fourth grader do to explore more about politics? Do you have any suggestions on what a fourth grader might be able to do to learn more?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not sure if you've ever been to the state capitol, but that is a great start. They always host a lot of free field trips where you can just get to like tour the Capitol. They have resources and kind of give you a history of like how our state capitol was in Lansing and the different legislators and Republicans, or excuse me, legislators on the Senate side and the House side. Another way is to every person has a state representative or a state senator that represents them. They have a legislative office, and you can pick up the phone and request a meeting with them or ask them questions. And so I'd encourage you to reach out to your state senator or state representative to have a conversation with them, just to learn more about their role, and also ask them questions about what they are doing for you. As state senators and representatives, they represent you and your interests. And so I think it's important to ask them questions and interview them. And no matter the age, you have the right to do that. So yes, you can start by asking those that are currently in office questions to learn more about it.
So it's great. This is things you can do now.
Yes.
So most of the group wants to know, do you like your job? And a follow-up question is that would you suggest to any of them to kind of have that position, the position that you have now?
Yes, I do like my job. I'll say this current role, I've only been working in it since January 8th, so fairly new to the director role. It is hard work at times, sometimes challenging. I'll be honest, last week I cried a little bit because I was just stressed out and overwhelmed, and it's just a new role. But ultimately, I go back to what I really want in life, and that's to really help people and serve people. And I think I'm in the position to do that. So I'm committed to being in this role. And so overall, I'll say, yes, I like my job. Are there hard days about it? Absolutely. I'm sure, like with school, like we love school, we get to learn, we get to meet new friends, but sometimes it's hard. But that doesn't mean it's not a good decision or an opportunity. And I'm sorry, it was another question. Oh, would I suggest them?
Yes, would you suggest that your job too?
Absolutely. I would suggest my job because in my role, I direct the legislative and public policy initiatives for one of the biggest state departments. Leo has so many different agencies and programs, and I think we need more women and girls to lead in areas like that, so we could ensure that our voices are heard and that the things we need are being evaluated and considered in the world.
Great. Thank you. And I know that a lot of times we think about being leaders and I think about serving others, but it's good to know that that isn't necessarily easy work to do. That can be very, very challenging work to do. So we definitely appreciate you being in that position and doing that work as a caring, empathetic, compassionate person. Another question that we have is, and this is from Sonia, do you talk to people individually typically, or are you speaking with committees? And in whichever case, which one do you find most effective?
I'll say I do both. So I do like one-on-one meetings with legislators and the Senate and the House of Representatives. Also with different organizations like nonprofit organizations that also have a vision for our work. And then in addition, I do have to like provide testimony or a presentation to the committee and Senate hearings and House hearings if there is a particular bill that is being proposed that has to do with things that our department are pushing for. Which is most effective? I'll say it takes both. Sometimes when you have one-on-one conversations with someone, they are more thoughtfully listening to you. And so you're able to get your thoughts out clearly and just build a connection with them. But in a committee process where there's a bigger group, you're just able to capture the audience of others. And it's always good to have a bigger platform when you're trying to advocate for something or get input. But it is important to do both. And I've learned that I'll typically do one-on-one meetings with people personally to get to know them. So when I do have to present to a committee, it makes it easier because I've already built a relationship with those people.
That definitely makes sense. Another question that we have is, out of every class you took as a poli-sci major, which class was the most important to you? Or I would say too, which do you find that you utilize or call upon now in the work that you do?
I'll say with my poli-sci major, oh my God, it's been 10 years. So I have to think about that. I will say my senior year, the program I mentioned, the government 4-semester program that I participated in, I think that was the most helpful for me, just because one, I was able to talk to legislators. We did public speaking. We did like a mock committee meeting where we had to decide on a bill or a law we wanted to pass. And then we had to actually talk to legislators in a mock committee, and they were, they actually listened to us and provided us feedback. So it gave me like a real hands-on experience of what it's like to work in state government, and opposed to just reading and taking tests. Like sometimes it's easier or better to get that real hands-on experience. So I'll say like the internship was actually the most helpful for me.
Yeah, that hands-on experience, and Girl Scouts, I think we love the hands-on experiences. They just tend to be more impactful when you actually get a chance to get in and do some work and participate in that way. And we're going to go with our last question is from Lila. She wants to know what or who got you into history or government or led you to this job. Was there anyone in particular? I know you talked about Legally Blonde in the movie, but was there who were the, I guess, instrumental people in your life that got you?
Nothing, no one in particular comes to mind. I'll just say, when I was 8 years old, my parents got divorced. And my mom was a single mom, and she worked 2 jobs to put food on the table for my brother and I. And I learned quickly that there are people like her that needed support from the government to make ends meet. And so for me personally, it was just wanting to help my mom and see her smile. And I found out like I could do that through government. And so that's kind of what inspired me to get into it. It wasn't necessarily like a mentor or someone I was exposed to, because again, I wasn't exposed to a lot at a young age. But I just had the will and the courage to want to just help the people that I love that were always there for me.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. I think that's important to note too, for us, that it's important to pay attention to what you're burdened by. what's on your heart, what moves you. And that's typically something that you can be passionate about, and you may want to serve in that area or advocate for people in that area or serve that way you're in your community. So I thank you very much, Ms. Hicks, for coming and speaking with us today. And girls, if you can
Yes.
just, we thank you in the chat.
Thank you. Thank you for
We thank
having
you so
me.
much.
This has been great, and feel free to reach out to me at any time. I think, Dana, you may have my information. If you don't, I'm happy to pass it along, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you all today.
Thank you so much.
And then Ms. Hicks, one compliment I want to share that got directly messaged to me is, Kara wanted to share, thank you for your help to make this virtual Girl Scout gathering become reality, and just give some ways, as the girls are in their age right now, ways they can be involved in government.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. This was great.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, ladies, and we're going to go on to learn a little bit more. So give me one moment. Thank you. See here. Okay. And Kelly, co-host, we're on the right screen.
We sure are. Yep.
We sure are. Okay. Now it was a pleasure learning and hearing Ms. Hicks, and this is a great introduction to more about the Michigan legislature. So the state legislature's role is to be a legislative body of the state, which has the ability to create laws. Now, the Michigan state legislature is referred to as a bicameral institution, and that is a legislative body that consists of two chambers. So bicameral is a fancy word for saying two chambers or houses. The Michigan Senate and House of Representatives are both a part of the Michigan state legislature. The state Senate is called the upper house, and the House of Representatives is called the lower house. The Michigan state legislature currently has the highest percentage of women elected in its history, and we can clap it up for that at 40.5%. Their meetings begin the second Wednesday in January, and their meetings take place in the Capitol building that Ms. Hicks talked about at Lansing as a good place for you all to go visit. So let's learn more about the upper house, which is the state Senate. Carrie, you have a question?
This is just like a totally random thing, but I actually went to Lansing yesterday and I got to see this, so I do know a little bit about it.
Oh, awesome. So now this is a little bit of more information. Great. So the state Senate is the upper house. And it's referred to as the upper house because it has fewer members than the House of Representatives and some powers that are not granted to the House of Representatives. So here's a glimpse of some of our Michigan senators. So we have Senator Winnie Brinks, and she is the Senate Majority Leader. She's the first woman to be the Senate Majority Leader in the Michigan Senate, and she assigns committees to the Senate according to subject matter. We have Senator Sarah Anthony, and she's created history many times throughout her career. She's the first Black woman to be elected to both the Michigan House of Representatives and the state Senate. And she's also the first Black woman to serve as the chair to the Senate Appropriations Committee. Have Senator Erica Geis, Senator Stephanie Chang, and she is the first Asian American woman in the Michigan legislature. And she's also the co-founder of Asian and Pacific Islander American Vote Michigan and Rising Voices. And then we have Senator Kristen McDonald Rivet, who you will get to meet tonight. And she serves as the Chief Strategy Officer for the Michigan Health Improvement Alliance. And she's dedicated to creating equitable education and employment opportunities. So the Michigan Senate is comprised of 38 districts. Like when we talked about the local government and we talked about the Detroit City Council and how they represented different districts within Detroit, the Senate represents 38 districts within the state. The Michigan senator serves a 4-year term, and the senators are elected at the same time as the governor. Their term starts January 1st and following the November general election. The lieutenant governor serves as the president of the Senate. So let's talk about the lower house, the House of Representatives. And again, it's called the lower house because it's bigger than the Senate. So here's a glimpse of some of our Michigan House of Representatives. So I'll give you a moment to read about some of their individual focuses. Here we have Cynthia Neely, Veronica Pays, Brenda Carter, Erin, Felicia. These are some of our House of Representatives, some of the women represented there, and you can look at some of their focuses. You know, this is a very diverse group of women represented in the House of Representatives and in the Senate, and they support various concerns and needs in our state. So I'll give you a moment to kind of review these. And again, we'll also send this presentation. I think we did not send the last presentation, so we'll make sure that we email you both presentations so you'll have this to reference. So you can go back to the slide because I know you won't get a chance to read about them all here. Now, the Michigan House of Representatives is comprised of 110 districts. Now, each representative serves a 2-year term, and the representative's term starts on January 1st. Michigan legislator elections take place in even years, and the Speaker of the House is the leader for the House of Representatives. So let's dig more into the Senate and the House of Representatives. Both of them are passing bills in regards to public policy matters. They're establishing levels for state spending, and they're helping to determine if taxes should be raised or lowered. So what are some of the differences between senators and House of Representatives? Michigan senators have 4-year terms, whereas the House of Representatives have 2-year terms. A senator's district covers anywhere from 212,000 to 263,500 residents, which is a lot. And the House of Representatives district covers anywhere from 77,000 to 91,000 residents. Now you might be asking yourselves, in what ways do the Michigan Senate and the House of Representatives work together? A major way that the Senate and House of Representatives works together is through the process of creating a new law. And so the next slides will go over how a new law is created. And if some of you went to Democracy and Me, and if you're a junior cadet, you went over some of this. So this will be a refresher. So first, someone has an idea for a bill, and this can start with anyone. So if an elected official likes your idea, they write up a bill. The bill is then introduced in both the Michigan Senate and House of Representatives. The bill goes to the Michigan Senate and House of Representatives committee, based on the subject for review and discussion. And then the committee then votes to accept or deny the bill. If the bill is accepted, it goes to the Michigan Senate and House of Representatives floor for debate. Any suggested changes for the bill can be voiced during the debate, and then a vote takes place. If the majority in both the Michigan Senate and House of Representatives vote in favor of the bill, it's sent to Governor Whitmer. If she signs the bill, it officially becomes law. So we're going to go over an example, a real-time example of one of the bills that bill ideas that got accepted and turned into law. And this was covered actually in the first Friday Night Live as well. So when we talked about, for example, how would you feel if you were told that you couldn't do your job or be a good student because of your hair? In Michigan, workplaces and schools could do that until someone had an idea about a bill. And that bill was the Crown Act, which stands for Creating a Respectful and Open World for Natural Hair. And Senator Sarah Anthony proposed the bill called the Crown Act. The bill went to the corresponding committee, and it was approved and went to the Senate and House of Representatives floor. Then the Michigan Senate and House of Representatives voted in favor of it, and then Governor Gretchen Whitmer signed a bill into law. So you can see kind of how that process goes and how this happened in a real life situation. Okay, now it's game time. I need you to put your critical thinking hats on. And this activity is the Michigan Legislator Edition. Okay, so this is part one. We are going to put you into breakout rooms, and you're going to have about 5 or 6 minutes in your breakout room. So what we want you to do in these rooms are we want you to brainstorm an idea for a bill. Remember, a bill is an idea for a new law that can start with anyone. If an elected official likes your idea, they write up a bill. And I want you, when you're thinking about your bill, to discuss the people who it would benefit. So in thinking about different bills or ideas, just think about your community. Think about if there's any needs that you see that are unmet, or anything, any ways that we could be serving the community better. So think about the reasons why it should be a bill. And then someone in your group will write down the ideas. You guys will decide as a group what your bill will be. And then we'll have one spokesperson for each group that's going to speak out and tell us what your bill idea was. So we're going to break you out into breakout rooms, and you're going to get about 5 minutes. Leader in public policy and advocacy. She's currently serving in her first term in the Michigan Senate. She worked to improve education and employment opportunities, revitalize neighborhoods, build youth development programs, and establish public policies to address inequities. Prior to becoming a senator, she served in many other leadership roles, including Chief Strategy Officer for the Michigan Health Improvement Alliance, Vice President of Michigan Future, and Executive Director of the Michigan Head Start Association. So let's give her a warm Girl Scout welcome.
Thank you so much. Oh, good. That's better. Now I can see everybody's faces.
Yeah.
Thank you for inviting me here. I understand I'm your second speaker of the night, so I will try to compare well. I'm a state senator from Bay City, Saginaw, Midland, this area of the state. So I represent those 3 cities and the townships that connect them. This is my first term, and so let me just tell you a little bit about me before I tell you about my career. So I live in Bay City. For a while, I lived in East Lansing. I have 6 kids, 4 of them girls. We've got only one left at home, an 8th grade boy. His name is Elijah, and he's at a basketball game right now. And I have a cat named Tuck, who is gigantic. He weighs 18 pounds. And the reason why I'm doing this is that he is so connected to people that he will undoubtedly make an appearance for you while I'm talking, because he just likes to be around all the time. So I have always thought that the government was a really important part of people's lives. And, you know, our government is what makes sure that we have passable roads, and we are police and fire departments. And so the first thing I did in elected office was I was a city commissioner in Bay City that was nonpartisan. And I really loved that, because the city commission is, you know, so close to your neighbors, and you're making sure that the roads get paved, and you pick up and the garbage is picked up, and water and electricity and all those things that are really important in order to make things good in your city. So I was actually recruited by a bunch of people who came to me and asked me, so, hey, will you come and run for the state Senate? And I'm a Democrat. And a Democrat has not been elected in this district in like 20 years. Also, I am the very first woman. So we have never had a woman from up here in the state Senate. We've never had a woman represent us in Congress. And everybody just honestly, there were the people that really wanted us to win the seat. And a lot of them were girls and women who said, because I know lots and lots of people in my community, and I've been doing all kinds of work throughout my career, particularly around kids and families. You know, I worked for Head Start, and I was the chief of staff at the State Department of Education, and I worked at the Department of Human Services, and I even worked in the city of Detroit for 10 years for an organization called the Skillman Foundation, which is a foundation that just gives away money to make the world better, right? So the group of folks came to me and said, hey, you know, we think that you should think about running for the Senate, and we think you can win it. And so I looked at it, and I looked at how, you know, I think that a lot of times in the state legislature, we weren't prioritizing the right things. There were a lot of things that were really making me upset. This was in the middle of COVID, when there were people grabbing their guns and storming into the Capitol, and there were people who were screaming and fighting. And I was seeing in my community folks that were screaming and fighting at one another over whose yard sign they had in their front yard. Two of my neighbors even got into a fist fight. One had a Biden sign and one had a Trump sign, and they got into a fist fight. And I thought, you know what, we're better than this. And I was just raised growing up, you know, my parents just always said, you know, it's important that you stand up to try to change things, and especially when it's hard. So I decided to run for the state Senate. And then the first thing that happened was a whole bunch of people told me that there was no way I could win, and that there was no way I could raise enough money to do it. And we just started going door to door, talking to people. So I've been involved in a lot of groups. I'm involved in my church, and just started with my friends and said, hey, will you come with me? Let's figure out how we win this. And then we started, their friends came in, and then their friends came in, and we went to Midland, and we went to Saginaw, and we went to Bay City, and they're very, very different towns. And eventually, by the end of the campaign, we had knocked on 75,000 doors, person by person by person, and just had a conversation of, our politics doesn't have to be mean. Our government can be focused on our people. We can do things together. Our schools really matter. Our libraries really matter. Our roads really matter. We need to stop fighting with everybody and get something done. And so on election day, I had raised over $1 million, with the average contribution was less than $30. So we got to $1 million that way, and we'd knocked on 75,000 doors, and I won by over 7,000 votes, because we all did it together, right? Because that's what politics should be. We all did it together. And then I went into the state Senate and became the first woman from this area to ever represent the area in the state Senate. And the Democrats took control of the state Senate for the first time in 40 years. So we've done a lot of stuff. So I get there, and I don't know, raise your hand. You don't have to just raise your hand or wave at me if you've been inside the state Capitol. Has anybody been inside the state Capitol building? Okay, well, all right. Well, Jennifer has. It is a big, beautiful building. And I walk onto the Senate floor, and it is gorgeous. And it was this moment that when the first time I walked onto the Senate floor, you're not allowed down there if you're not a part of the Senate. And I just felt how awesome a responsibility it was, and how many people that I was representing, and that they were all counting on me. And then there's a couple of funny things. So this is virtual, so you guys don't know, I'm 5'2". I'm a short person, right? I'm a short person. And I'm sitting at a desk that's been there for a very long time. And like I said, it is built for a man. So when I sit in my chair on the Senate floor, my feet don't touch the ground. Yeah, they didn't even have women's bathrooms in the Michigan Senate until 1990. So, but we do. I sit on 8 committees. I've been able to pass 7 public laws under my name. The first one was a gun violence prevention law, because I feel really, really strongly that we need to make sure that people are safe, especially our kids. And so that was my first law, but I passed some bills that have changed the requirements of how we produce energy, to make sure that we're not contributing to climate change, and to have Michigan be entirely clean energy by 2040, and have done some work around education to help our teachers, to try to think about education being more than just those standardized tests that you all have to take all the time. And right now I'm working on a really big package of bills on childcare. So it's very, very busy. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday I'm in Lansing. And then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, I'm in my district. So I go to church, a different church around my district every single week. And I go into schools and read books, and I meet with, read to classrooms, little kids mostly. And I meet with people and I talk with them about what they think is important. We still go door to door. So tomorrow we're going to be going door to door in Bay City, handing out information about the earned income tax credit, which is really important thing. Families can actually get thousands of dollars from that, but they can't get it if they don't apply. So I want to make sure I get information into the hands of the families who live in my district. And that's when I do what I do when I'm not in Lansing. And when I am in Lansing, I serve on committees, hit the Senate floor, and vote bills through the process.
Wow, thank you. Thank you so
You're
much.
welcome. Now
Now
a little short period of time, so let's take some questions.
let's take some questions. What questions do you all have? I mean, there's so many that the information about the bathrooms that even just tells you just a lot, 1990.
Yeah.
And,
So, I mean, I think one of the big lessons that I learned, and I talked to my daughters about it too, is, never have anything on the I can't list. And if people tell you that you can't get something done, that's the biggest reason to go do it.
mm. Yes. So we have a question from Anna from Troop 77915. What is the hardest part of your job?
I'm going to say two things. There are a lot of people who are really struggling right now. So in Michigan, a lot of people are financially struggling. And I really think a lot of our kids are struggling after the pandemic, getting back in the swing of things. We're trying, but we just can't move fast enough to help everybody who needs help. So that's really hard. And then the other piece is, there's a lot of folks that will say, I mean, you hear all the time on TV or on social media that people who are in office, so that all senators are bad. Everybody who ever runs for office is crooked. We see more and more people not willing to talk or listen or have conversation, and trying to break through that to be able to really get through to people and tell them that there's hope for where we're going as a country. Getting people to believe in that is really hard, and it can be disheartening sometimes.
Thank you. Another question is, as you're going door to door, are you worried about your safety ever?
So I have spent my whole life in community, not always in the same community, but in community, meaning I like to be in neighborhoods with other people, but we have rules. So we always go in groups. So if you're on a street, when I'm on a street, I'm always paired with another person. We always can see one another at all times. You never go to a door that makes it so that you're not visible from the street. We always go during the day. So I've never had an incident from a person at the door. Now, I've met a couple of dogs that were not so fun. So I had a dog. I knocked on the door and I had this dog, and he came through the screen door. It was the summertime. He came through the screen door and just grabbed a chunk of my hair, and it sort of ran through his teeth. And you know what? He wasn't a mean dog. He was one of those extra lovey dogs, and he was just trying to, but so dogs are probably the scariest, but I'll let you in on a secret. Don't tell anyone. When you go door to door and you don't tell people you're coming and you're knocking on doors, you would be shocked by the number of people who answer their door in their underwear.
Oh no.
Happens all the time. Another reason to go in pairs.
Right. This is safety.
Right.
So, one of the questions, do people judge you for being a woman?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So, some of it you got to just take on, right? And say to them, that's not okay. And some of it you ignore, and you just figure out I had a really big problem in the first 3 months that I was elected, that people, when they wanted something, people from Lansing would want me to, know something or vote a certain way, and they would call my husband.
Oh.
I know, Sonia, I know.
Right.
That is, it is really interesting, or, we've come a long way. We
Mhm.
really have. And I don't necessarily feel judged, but I do feel like people think that they can say things or expect things from me that they wouldn't if I were a man.
Mhm.
And what I always say, I've got 2 sons, 4 daughters. And what I always say to my daughters is that it's always important that that we all stick together as a community, and that when you have success, that you turn around to the woman behind you and give her a hand up, right?
Mhm.
So what Girl Scouts are so good about. And the other thing I would say is that most people will not do this, but some people
Mhm.
still do. So we just have to keep working.
Keep working, yes. Thank you. What is your educational background? That is a question.
So I got my bachelor's degree at Michigan State, go Green. And my degree is in history and women's studies. And so here's a secret that I'm not sure if I'm supposed to say this out loud or not, but I really don't think that, I think college is really important. Everybody doesn't need to go, but most of us do. But it doesn't matter a lot what you major in college. Unless you want to do something specific like nursing or teaching, or going into the law or medicine. So my degree is in history and women's studies. And then from there, I went to go work. And my first job out of college was managing a campaign. And I did a little bit of campaign work until I decided I did not want to do that anymore. And then started down this path working around education policy. And so I went later in my 30s to the University of Michigan Flint, and I have a MPA, a Master's in Public Administration, with a specialty in educational administration.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. A question, were you a Girl Scout?
I was not. I can't even, so I grew up, I was born in 1970, and I lived in a really small town, mostly a farm town, with about 4,000 people. And I knew there were Girl Scouts, but there was never an opportunity where I knew about it. But I've worked with the Girl Scouts a lot. And my husband was a Boy Scout. He was an Eagle Scout. But when I was at Skillman, we did a lot of stuff with you all. So.
Mhm. Awesome. Thank you. Another question is, would you recommend this job to your friends or your family?
It's not for the faint of heart. It is not for the faint
Mm.
of heart. People are mean.
Mhm.
But I believe in public service, and elected office should be public service. And I also have a core value that you give back to your community. So this is a job that is incredibly meaningful, and you can do big, big things, like big things. Last year, I led an effort and got passed a $500 million tax cut for struggling families, right?
Mm.
That is, but at the same time, you're very public. People watch everything that you do. And campaigning is hard, but it's worth it. And so I would absolutely recommend it, but also, remembering, and, I got a twin sister. I've got 2 sisters, but I have a twin sister who's also in elected office, and in Oakland County. And, we will just tell each other, like, we were made for hard things. And so this is worth doing. And so we do it.
Thank you. And from the Girl Scouts, we really appreciate the work that you do. And that's kind of been a theme too of the night, that leadership, publicly serving is rewarding, but it's not without its challenges.
It's true.
So,
Well, let me just leave you with this. Everything worth doing is hard.
mhm, mhm.
Now, easy things are fun, but everything worth doing is going to be hard. Whether we're talking about playing professional sports or running for office, curing cancer, these are the things, these are hard. And so we're built for hard things.
Right. Strength, perseverance. I love it. Thank you. Thank you so much, Senator. So
Thank
you
you.
all give her a round of applause. Thank you for coming and speaking with us this evening. We appreciate the work that you do, and just thank you
Yeah.
on
Okay.
behalf of women and
Right.
girls, for sure.
All right. I will do what I can to get that chair lowered so the shortest among you can follow in my path, sit in my seat. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Have a good night.
All right. Bye.
Thank you. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Let me see. I'm going to give me 1 second. We're going to do this here. I know we are running we're running out of time. So I have a question from Reagan. Reagan, yes.
Are we gonna do the answers for the thing?
Yes, so whoever can stay, if you have to go, I understand, but I do want to go over the answers if you can. So who's the spokesperson for Reagan, are you a spokesperson for your group?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll go Reagan, we'll go Sonia, and then who was the third spokesperson? Or was it you, Athena? Okay, so we'll go with Reagan. So Reagan, tell us what bill you had, and then go ahead and tell us what your committee decided on.
We had the one that like to keep like the kids safe, and we said like maybe like watch the kids so nothing goes wrong, because like if they're like if you're on your phone or just doing something with only like a couple of kids, then like somebody could get hurt, and if you don't see it, then they have to come to you, and then maybe and then maybe like have a couple of friends with you, so like if you do get hurt, then they can go get the teacher. So like communication, and maybe some like teachers, to a couple teachers to go around, like, just to keep you safe.
Okay, so you all added on to the bill. So it sounds like you're in favor of the bill and added on just some supervisory pieces, that there's some people in the community or some professionals that are now a part and responsible for doing some of the supervision in those areas. Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you. Sonia.
Our group voted, so in theory, you would look at the bill and go, oh, like you would obviously want to sign off on that. But our group noticed how vague it was. So we
Mhm.
decided that we wouldn't want to just sign on that. So we are not in favor of that bill specifically. And we would go back to the drawing board and rewrite it, holding that value in mind, and write more specific things.
So remind us of your bill for everyone else, which one
The
you were
bill that
reviewing.
we had was provide goods and services to homeless people.
We agreed with
Okay.
it, but we would change it.
Okay, got you. So you agreed that, so, and again, these are all things that they have to do, and it's nothing wrong with that. But this is sometimes where debate comes in and people sometimes get offended. We'll say, well, but we're not saying we don't agree. We agree with the idea. We agree that those people, that group needs to be serviced, but we need more details. So not a complete no, but let's add some changes and put more specifics around it. It sounds like.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay, and I like that. Thank you, Athena. Your group.
We thought that we should allow Anna's bill to pass because it is a very good law bill, because it can affect many areas, because it can cause the water to be mucky. In some places it can hurt the animals that live there, like turtles or sea otters or other otters. We think we should give the people who hurt the waterways community service or some other thing, like for them to give us money.
Mm-hmm.
Having the oil spills could cause the water to be unenjoyable, causing people to not being able to enjoy and play in the water.
Okay, so you all were in favor of it, thought it was a good idea that we make these companies or corporations responsible, and it sounds like you all were going to give them incentives. Is it for if they comply or maybe do something extra in support of helping the environment?
Yes.
Mhm. Okay, yes, I love it. So I love all of your contributions and the input that you have, but you see how in any of this whole process of government is all about someone comes up with an idea and then you decide to collaborate and you bring other brains into it. You know, each of you all, your brains represent different resources. You all have different perspectives and different ways of thinking of things. And that's why when it comes to government, when it comes to the House of Representatives and the Senate, it's so important. You can kind of see how it's so important that a diverse group is represented, that women are represented, that men are represented, that different ethnicities are represented, different backgrounds, economic backgrounds, all of these things, because everyone has a different perspective that can chime in and be of value when it comes time to creating these bills and putting these laws into effect. So I just thank you all for being here tonight, and I hope you really enjoy our guest speakers. So, we have our surveys. So if you can, here are the QR codes for the surveys. We are definitely going to email those out. So I don't have the email prep now, but I will email them out to you so that you have the links there as well. We're going to put the links in the chat also for the surveys for you to complete. And remember, completion of your survey is how you get credit towards your patch. So please make sure to complete your survey. So if you have the QR codes, if you're copying that, we'll also put them in the chat. And I thank you all for joining this evening. And I thank you for even staying 10 minutes over time so we could finish out our activity. Our next speaker series will be, Reagan, you have a question? Well, wait, our next speaker series will be March 22nd. And that is, we are going to talk about national government. Reagan, yes.
Can you put it back on the
Oh,
the
sure,
QR?
sure.
Thank you.
I got it. Anna, question.
I would just like to say thank you. This was very fun. And I loved seeing our guest speakers.
Thank you. Thank you very much. You are welcome. Lila, you have your hand up.
I got like the picture. Is that good enough or no?
Oh, wait, let me mute. Okay, go ahead, Lila.
Not to be that type of person, but are we gonna get like prizes today or this meeting?
There's nothing wrong with me. That's not a type of person. That's a good question, Lila. I understand. Yes, there will be something coming in the mail for everybody that participated this evening. So, definitely you got an incentive coming. So good question.
Thank you.
Nothing wrong with that. Anyone else have any questions before we close out? Kara, excuse me. Kara, you can go ahead and unmute yourself. You had a question?
I just want to say this was really fun and a great learning experience, and I can't wait to show my family about this.
All right, thank you. I'm learning a lot too. Adults, you never stop learning. So it's inspiring for me to hear from all these women as well, even as an adult woman myself.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You all have a great evening and have awesome weekends. Okay. All right. See you all later.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Good night.
Can I leave?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. You can go ahead and leave out.